It's really like a Hollywood script. That's how I see it. This whole thing is a live movie that's playing out for like 4.5 years already, and I'm the main act.
So ridiculous. What about the notion of being innocent until proven guilty?
Yeah, exactly. Where did that go? You know, guilty until we say he's guilty, you know, which is now. I mean, it's crazy.
As local people, we just knew there was a very large house. Because the house itself was not easily seen, it became more noticeable when they started building the stone wall, which pretty much surrounds it.
And there were all sorts of rumors about who was going to move into it. And our favorite one was that it was Tom Cruise who was going to put a Scientology center there. We thought that would be kind of exciting.
This person turned up who had changed his name to .com, and we just thought, well, that was fascinating. But otherwise, I mean, it's not as if we saw him walking along the street.
Then the cameras went up. I don't know whether they were listening devices on the end, but I always wondered whether we were being listened to or watched. They didn't mesh very well with the community. And then there was a little bit more digging into the background. And then it was, oh my God, who's just landed in Coatesville?
So I started looking into who our new neighbor was going to be, and I went onto all sorts of websites. And the more I looked into it, the more frightened I became of what kind of person was going to be coming into our community.
Ground units, gates are open.
Top story this hour, New Zealand is at the centre of one of the world's biggest internet piracy investigations. Police conducted dawn raids on behalf of the FBI.
Kim Dotcom, the founder of massive file sharing site MegaUpload, was
the notorious Dr. Evil of the Information Highway.
Internetmillionär Kim Schmitz in einen Panic Room geflüchtet.
Some say he's a criminal mastermind, others an online innovator, but he has to be the most wanted man online.
Und er kam immer. Und ich habe ihn halt immer nicht reingelassen. Habe ich ihn einfach mal nicht reingelassen. Was ist der Grund, warum du mich nicht reinlässt? Der Kim hatte damals einen weißen Anzug angehabt. Es hatte schon eigentlich was Skurriles. Dann habe ich ihn angeschaut und dann habe ich zu ihm gesagt, du, ganz ernsthaft, ehrlich gesagt, weiß ich es nicht. Dann sagte er, ja, also wenn du es nicht weißt und du bist derjenige, der es aber zu entscheiden hat. Und irgendwie habe ich mir gedacht, eigentlich ein witziger Kerl. So kam das Ganze halt zustande. So habe ich Kim eigentlich kennengelernt. Ja. Ich wusste immer, dass er etwas mit Internet zu tun hatte. Das wusste ich. Ich wusste nicht exakt, um was es ging.
I was a hacker. The hackers were wizards. Any kind of system, any kind of network, you know, a hacker right away identifies weaknesses. And I'm really good at that.
Ja, ist da ARD New York? Ja, wunderbar. Hier ist Kimball.
Kostet das Gespräch wirklich nichts? Tatsächlich, der Gebührenzähler bleibt auf 0. Eine Sensation.
Kim Schmitz wasn't the only identity that he assumed. He became Kimball, styling himself after Richard Kimball from The Fugitive. He claimed that he had hacked into the Pentagon, that he had reduced the credit ratings of world leaders down to 0.
You know, there were all these stories, and some people didn't believe them. They did seem sort of very fantastic in some ways. They seemed sort of, you know, sort of the Hollywood version of what a hacker must be. My impression was that, you know, it was someone who seemed to be bragging quite a bit for someone who's, you know, clearly breaking the law in certain cases.
All the other things that he did were about reputation and learning how stuff worked. The thing that he was convicted for, that was a very obvious criminal enterprise. It was a scam using phone cards that would then generate cash that would be .coms. And he got caught.
The judge rightfully ruled that, you know, I should get a 2-year probation sentence. And he also said that there was an important factor, which was my youthful foolishness. Not understanding enough at my young age, you know, that I shouldn't have done this. But it actually launched my career.
That arrest actually helped him boost his reputation.
Wunderbar, einfach reinstecken.
So he set up this whole business around the idea of protecting companies from hackers like him. And when you're dealing with businesses that really don't have any sort of computer security expertise internally, that's a really good business to be in because you can say anything.
Herr Grafenreuth, diese Leitung ist secure.
He used his hacker mythos to build his credibility as the security guy. I do know that his reputation that he built up by the things he said he did allowed him to get investment from people and to build up this company.
All my life, I've been an innovator. And all my life, I've been a little bit ahead of what everyone else was doing. In the data security space, we were one of the first companies to create firewalls that alert you of a hacker attack. When no one was thinking about computers and cars, I created the MegaCar. Real-time video conferencing from a car that was driving on the highway at 200 miles an hour. You know, all these things I thought about early on, you know, and again, patented it and sold it.
Meine Klassenkameraden wollten so Feuerwehrmann werden und Müllabfuhr und sowas, also diese Standard-Kinderwünsche. Und bei mir war das dann Millionär, ja.
Kim Schmitz!
He did everything he could to exude this new image of himself as this hyper-successful hacker, to really turn everything about his personal life into a promotion for his professional life.
Du warst auch mal ein böser Hacker, ja?
Ganz böse.
Und bist rechtskräftig verurteilt?
Ja, wegen Computerbetrug.
Und was hast du da dann, was kann man da klauen zum Beispiel?
Daten, Informationen, Wissen, Macht.
2 Jahre auf Bewährung hast du gekriegt, ja?
Ich bin rausgekommen aus einer 3-monatigen Untersuchungshaft und hatte auf einmal 50 Firmen, die mich also als Berater beauftragen.
He's this weird appearance of the big guy with this black suit, and then he's just nice, like a nice bear to cuddle with. He wrote me an email and asked me, well, I see you like motorsports. Why don't you come? We're having a weekend in Monaco, Formula 1 race weekend. Why don't you come? I invite you and your girlfriend, and let's have a party, and I can meet you. He likes the music we do with the band, and me as a character. And I thought, that's interesting, and he got me there.
Kim, sag mal, sind das jetzt eigentlich alles Freunde von dir? Kennst du die überhaupt und so weiter? Und da hat er gesagt, nee, natürlich sind das keine Freunde von mir. Ja, dann sag ich, ja, aber wieso lädst du die dann eigentlich alle ein? Dann sagt er, du, pass auf, es ist relativ einfach. Ich will Spaß haben, ich will auf einem gewissen Niveau Spaß haben und ich will gewisse Leute um mich herum haben. Und dann hat er immer Futterwart dabei gehabt. Er hat immer, der Spruch war immer, mach einen Pick. Weil es ihm auch nichts bedeutet, wer das ist. Es beeindruckt ihn auch nicht. Ja. Richard Branson, Ronaldo, Bruce Willis. Dann hast du halt ein Foto gemacht, das kam sofort auf die Website. Und jeder dachte, boah, krass, der Kim kennt alle.
He uses all these status symbols, cars, girls, and being together with celebrities like myself. But he's not he himself doesn't really act like that. Everybody's having champagne. Hey, have champagne, and there's all the girls, but there's no girl on his lap, and he doesn't drink alcohol. And he probably feels that it makes himself likable when he's in his picture, because people like girls and champagne and stars. Das ist so ein bisschen auch ein Mitleid, was ich empfunden habe und was habe ich ihn mochte oder auch mag nach wie vor. Auf der anderen Seite gab es auch so verblüffende Falschheiten, die mich wirklich, die ich ganz absurd fand.
Auch nicht oft mit Kim über seine Kindheit gesprochen. Weil ich glaube, dass Kim und auch wir hatten auch eine sehr, sehr schwierige Kindheit. Das wusste der Kim auch. Und ich glaube, dann lässt man sich so gegenseitig so ein bisschen in Ruhe damit, mit dem Thema.
I was a complicated child. My mom and I, we went through hard times with my father, who was an alcoholic. This guy broke my mother's bones and hit me many times and was just evil when he was drinking. He's the reason why I've never drank any alcohol, because I saw firsthand what that stuff can do to you. after the divorce, my mom, even though times were tough, she tried to find ways to get me my first computer. Once I had my computer, for me, school was a waste of time, you know? I want to learn about computers. I want to learn about the future.
Let'sBuyIt.com is an online marketplace, very early version of Amazon, if you will. .com had talked of his plans to invest a large amount of money into Let's Buy It. When he said he was going to do that, the share price took off. It was ramped massively. And then he sold his shares.
I was in Thailand because I was on a holiday. And it didn't take long for some people that didn't like my attitude, my lifestyle, to make allegations that there's something fishy here. And then the government started an investigation around insider trading. And they arrested me, and they took me to a Thai prison. The worst living conditions that I have ever experienced in my life. And the embassy people arrive, and they say, look, if you want to leave, we can give you a travel document. You can fly back to Germany. And of course I agreed.
The way that German authorities would cast it, they had to go to Thailand to drag him back. .com would have it that he came back willingly to face the charges.
In the end, I agreed to a plea bargain.
Das Urteil 2 Jahre Freiheitsstrafe auf Bewährung. Für Schmitz die allerletzte Warnung, so die Richterin.
Noch eine Frage. Sie soll jetzt 50 rauslassen?
I simply didn't want to deal with it anymore. I wanted to leave Germany behind and start a new life somewhere else.
If there's any place in the world that is left as sort of the edge of business, of finance, of legality, it's the Wild West sort of town. Hong Kong is all about capitalism. Companies start there daily and disappear the next day. It was both at the center of the world and on its edge. He felt it was really easy to restart what he was trying to do in Germany there without much oversight.
Welcome to the Empire.
Using a PC to download music is one of the hottest of today's computer trends, and that has the recording companies up in arms and heading to court.
Members of the entertainment industry are fighting new websites like Napster, which allow you to download music off of the internet free of charge.
It's a surprisingly simple idea, known as file sharing.
Napster is providing a service that gives people the opportunity to steal our music.
It started with the music industry. They were no longer in charge of how they distributed their wares because we had Napster. If it was digitized, then you could copy it and send it across the globe. Any one person could do that.
When I wanted something special, a certain song, I couldn't find it. I couldn't buy it in a record store and I couldn't order it. I just went online and got it from Napster or from some other dark corner in the internet. It was a little en vogue, was a little radical. Everybody did this in these transition times when the legal market, legal online market started to establish. And in that time, everybody did this.
every aspect of music has changed. How it's consumed, how it's disseminated, how it's marketed. It's this shifting climate. And the old guard's trying to hold on and penalize anyone who impedes their revenue streams. So they had these crazy lawsuits against suburban housewives who had downloaded illegally 20 songs, you know, trying to like sue them for millions of dollars.
Well, I don't think this is about record companies. I think this is about whether or not people who create music and invest in music have a right to get paid.
The record companies never gave a damn about the artists anyway. 95% of them have problems retrieving their money from the major corporations anyway. 4 major corporations. 4 of them, and Hillary's fighting to protect them.
Ms. Rosen, isn't this strictly about your profits and your money?
Well, it's about everybody's profits and money.
Originally, the film industry was quite naive in believing that they were immune because they thought, you know, we've got 2 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte files, and if you're sharing those, you know, in dial-up modems, it would take days to download. But of course, in the current state, it's trivial to download that kind of content. And so that industry is threatened as well. And the business model of that industry is very different from music. You know, when you get access to music, you want a song that if you like it, you're going to listen to it 1,000 times. If you watch a movie, it's not likely you're going to watch it 2 or 3 times. So they had a stronger reason to be anxious that people not get access to their movie and to bleed the potential revenue.
You can copy on a digital format 10,000 copies, and the 10,000th copy is as pure and pristine as the original. If you allow that, if you don't have copyright to protect you on the internet, we're dead.
They had no understanding. The music industry had been decimated. The film industry had the same problem. They didn't understand what was coming until things had already gotten out of hand.
As you can see, 250. This is the Gumball speed, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa!
Gumball Rally is where the richest car nuts in the world get together to cover thousands of miles across Europe. Dotcom treated it like it was a race because he likes to win everything.
This is the winner! This is the winner! I've been a hacker in my early years, and then I started...
You know, always when I was there were videos made about it, and I wanted to share them with my friends. And I could not because the files were too big to send via email. And I was like, well, let's create a site where you can upload a file, and then instead of emailing the file, you just email the link. And no matter how large the file is, people can download it and problem solved. That's how it started. At the time MegaUpload really took off, we were a relatively small team of developers. There are not many people that I know that I can call a genius, but Matthias is. He was the brains behind the code. He is really a genius.
Bram was kind of a fan of Kim because of his gumball racing, and I think that way they met, because he said, you know, I'm a coder too, can I do something for you? I was not part of the founding members. I met him at a club in Munich. Kim got in touch with me because MegaUpload grew, and there was a need for marketing and advertising, so because we knew each other and he trusted me.
There was this boom in remote storage locker services.
that people were using for both infringing and non-infringing purposes to store information in what we now call the cloud. I guess you could really say that MegaUpload was among the innovators of consumer cloud services. Certainly the interface design was dead simple.
So we talk about MegaUpload, we're going to be talking a lot about music and films, but it's not just that. Academic research, data sets. This is the promise of the internet, right? That across the globe, we can share access to all of this stuff and build upon it and share it. And that's really, really amazing. And that's the underlying technology of cloud computing that MegaUpload used that's really so exciting.
There was a high demand. We had crazy rates of growth. Say you have 1 million visitors on your website, and every user that came to our website is potentially advertising income.
It doubled in size almost every month, and we needed to get new servers, more bandwidth, new servers, more bandwidth. I was surprised. I was so surprised that something simple would grow into such proportions. But I also immediately understood its potential.
Now, whether .com ever envisioned what it was going to turn into, I don't know, but users did. Once users could see the latest Hollywood movies on MegaUpload, the use of the site exploded.
They would Google a movie they wanted to see or a song they wanted to hear. It would be one of the top hits. They'd click on the link and, oh yeah, I guess I'm at MegaUpload. And by the way, if you wanted to go faster, pay here. Then they would pay there and get a premium account and have it go faster. So it was very well designed to attract people who weren't even thinking one way or the other about legal, illegal. They just wanted to see the movie and were happy to pay somebody for the privilege. And a company like Kim Dotcom's was cashing the checks.
A girlfriend, I saw her watching Mad Men on her computer, and I'm like, where did you get that? And she's all like, MegaUpload. And I'm like, what is that? And she told me that MegaUpload was the in-place at the University of Kansas, where she had just graduated earlier, to find free movies. How did you hear about it? She said her 63-year-old professor at the University of Kansas turned her on to MegaUpload. And then I was like, this is big. They're essentially streaming it to you, and it was easy. If they make this simple to do, this means it could go mainstream.
I was traveling a lot in Asia, and I was in the Philippines at a disco. And I saw Mona dancing on the dance floor. And she immediately caught my eye because she is so incredibly beautiful. I was a bit shy, so I sent my PA to go to Mona and ask her if she wants to join us.
He was just this guy sitting alone on the corner. So it's like, why is no one talking to him? I thought we really connected. We both grew up in a tough life. But yeah, we were just friends.
I just knew that I wanted to be with her. I mean, look at me. I'm not a supermodel, right?
And now we are going to the Tower de Eiffel.
So I have to spend extra time and extra work to get someone to fall for me. But she ultimately did, and we were really happy together. We went on a holiday to New Zealand, and we just fell in love with the place.
What's happening?
Okay, we are up here on the hill at Coatesville. This is our house.
We found that house in Coatesville, and we just made that our second home.
Yeah.
MegaUpload was huge, and there were tens of millions of dollars coming in. At that time, he was largely unknown in New Zealand. He was a reclusive, wealthy foreigner who was living in the grandest house in the land.
Now for the biggest fireworks display ever seen in New Zealand. A gift from Mr. Kim Dotcom as he hovers up here over our beautiful harbour. Happy New Year, Auckland. Happy New Year.
Dotcom had a very slow entry into New Zealand life. But then he spent about $500,000 on fireworks display. That was a celebration of getting his residency.
These thieves are now migrating offshore, locating themselves in places that are beyond the jurisdiction of U.S. courts. And so we need to come up with a mechanism to protect our jobs and protect the intellectual property by going after those sites or those search engines that allow these illegal criminal foreign sites to exist.
Dotcom had a plan to list MegaUpload. He wanted to float the company, and he reckoned it was worth about $2 billion. That's some next level stuff.
We wanted to launch several new sites. One of them was Mega Movies, which was a Netflix competitor, and the aim was to license content from the big studios. We have MegaBox. It would give the artists 90% of the earnings. It would give them an online platform where they can sell directly to their fan base. Because we were thinking about how can we reinvent this whole copyright model? How can we make it work for the artists and creators directly?
Kim was definitely talking about new business models that he was working on and new services that he was working on. And you got this idea that, like many other platforms that started out as being very focused on kind of infringing uses, a legitimate and authorized business model might actually come out of it.
This technology is live and in place now, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I will happily do a deal with you guys. Not an issue.
Amazing. Great. I'm happy to hear that. We have gotten a lot of fire from everyone, in the content industry for, MegaUpload.
There are certain people I can have conversations with where you will be moved onto a different list as opposed to a bad list.
If it would be from evil to neutral, and then later from neutral to good, I think that would be fair.
That we can do that.
Okay, good.
One of the things that I thought was maybe this was a sign that MegaUpload was making that sort of shift to a legitimate platform. The movie industry did not react that way. I think they sort of freaked out. They don't go past this whole, there's infringement, it's bad, end it.
MegaUpload was effectively a copycat of some of the pirate services that already existed at the time. So there was no great innovation in what they did. They just did it better in the sense that they bested their pirate competitors in terms of growing. So the entire business model was based on distributing content that MegaUpload didn't own.
This guy is becoming a multi-millionaire, and dual use. This is not people sharing their vacation photos and then others paying a premium to download them a little faster. This is just movie after movie after movie.
Kim Dotcom made a lot of money for himself. Did he make a lot of money to fund all of the art that he was distributing for free? No way. Also remember that, like, creators have rights. I mean, in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was signed by the UN, not the MPAA, you know, you have the right to the moral and material interests of your work. That's a big deal. You want to give it away for free? Give it away for free. You want to stream it? Stream it. You want to put it on Laserdisc, beam it into space, show it on airplanes? That's your choice. But Kim was violating the rights of a lot of people.
When someone like Kim Dotcom put up a site and he collects millions of dollars of advertising income off that site to pay for his yachts and his mansions and his private jets, that's, to me, parasitical. He is a parasite, and he is sucking the blood out of the artist's corporate body.
Just one more time. Are you ready? Woo!
So he's a criminal, and it's just that simple. You know, he should be in jail.
I'm not done. I've just begun. Kim Dotcom. Kim Dotcom. I'm not done. I've just begun. I've just begun. Kim Dotcom. That wasn't right. Let's do it again. Alright. And then the other one. I was working on a music site called MegaBox. MegaBox was actually a real threat to the music labels because it empowered the artists and cut out the middlemen, these monopolist labels that are just stealing money from them. And the artists loved that.
Hey, we have our hit, man!
And they were all excited. They wanted to be a part of that. And that's why they decided to promote MegaUpload in the way they have done.
When I gotta send files across the globe, I use MegaUpload. MegaUpload. When I gotta send files across the globe, I use MegaUpload. MegaUpload. I use MegaUploads, man.
And I like to use MegaUpload.
Yeah, I like MegaUpload. I like MegaUpload.
I love MegaUpload.
A whole bunch of A-listers, well-known faces, singing a MegaUpload jingle.
Just like I like it.
I mean, that was really sticking his fingers up the noses of the record companies in Hollywood.
But it was surprising because I'm sure that many of the labels that represent these celebrities were incredibly unhappy to see that promo because their message was one that does not align very easily with the copyright industry's message that any kind of copyright infringement hurts them, not helps them.
Like, what is this? Here are the artists backing Kim Dotcom and MegaUpload at a crucial time. Listen, Kim Dotcom is a PR genius. He knows what really makes impact. He knows what people want to see. He knows what's going to affect them. The guy's a genius when it comes to that. And Hollywood had no idea that he'd be able to do this kind of thing. That came out of nowhere.
Hey, I'm Alicia Keys, and I use MegaUpload. Hi, I'm Naomi Campbell.
What up, though? MegaUpload.
I'm Demi Moore.
Hey, what's up? It's Kim Kardashian, and I love MegaUpload.
These people are whores. They're, you know, wave a little check in front of them. They'll show up anywhere. And that's what's so sad, you know? I mean, the music business didn't used to be that way. But now, you know, whether it's brands or Kim Dotcom's, people are just so anxious to get some cash that they'll do anything.
He seemed to them, he was rubbing their nose that he was living in this huge mansion with all these cars, living this high life, and to them, he was doing that with their money. It's like he had to go. Yeah. So he kind of, in a way, he invited some of this.
He has long been viewed as an adversary of the film and entertainment industry in Hollywood. And that industry wields enormous political power inside the United States, and therefore wields great influence within the halls of power of Washington.
Top lobbyist for Hollywood told Fox his industry is threatening to cut off money to the president.
Don't make the false assumption this year that because we did it in years past, we're going to do it this year. This industry is watching very carefully who's going to stand up for them when their job is at stake.
Chris Dodd, the head of the Motion Picture Association of America, the most powerful lobbying group for Hollywood in America, was very explicit about the fact that, you know, if you're not going to give us what we want, we're not going to give you what you want when it comes around time for you to raise money to fund your campaigns. Now, that was more explicit than he should have been because it just sounded so grotesque, but what he was saying was understood by everybody to be true.
I've heard a lot of suspicion about whether Hollywood really did put pressure on the president to take down a site that they believe was pirating music and films. And I would say, yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. He shouldn't be surprised by that. That's what happens. You get in between America and its money, and you're going to have big problems.
Move to gate location. Over.
Copied. Moving out.
Move to LZ. Over.
Ground units. Gates are open. Made entry into the bedroom of the target. Door closed, slammed, and it had a security lock on it and breached it. Moved through, he's done a runner. We can't find him in either the studio or the bedroom. The residence of the garage has been secured. We have 3 occupants. We're going through arrest procedures now. Over.
Have a physical location of front of property, a key directive.
One of the male targets says his name is Finn. We have the 5 nannies plus his children up in the top of the garage.
Roger that, thank you.
Located target, safe room, 3rd level, over.
Confirm located target, safe room, 3rd level.
Roger.
Thank you.
They've been arrested on warrants relating to breach of copyright offences in the United States, money laundering and racketeering. Within New Zealand, we have seized in excess of $6 million worth of top-end motor vehicles and over $10 million in cash from several New Zealand finance companies.
More details of Kim Dotcom's actions during the raid have emerged. Police say when they arrived in 2 helicopters, Dotcom retreated into an electronically locked panic room.
They found him clutching a sawed-off shotgun, and they had to cut him out of the room.
The firearm that was found there was illegal. There's a photo of it, and it was loaded. I can also tell you, sir, that there were multiple credit cards, 16 in one wallet, 19 in another.
The FBI claims that Kim Dotcom made $175 million in criminal proceedings and that MegaUpload cost $500 million in harm to copyright owners.
It was put into the criminal category because he was a criminal, and he is a criminal, and he was a pretty significant criminal. Just because he's not violent doesn't mean his conduct isn't criminal. People go to jail for securities fraud every day without ever having taken a bat to the side of someone's head. So the harm that Kim Dotcom causes really does affect real people. It affects those 1.9 million people that go to work every day to try and earn a living in the film and television industry. It affects the small businesses that are trying to start up new, legitimate online platforms and that are playing by the rules. So the conduct that Kim Dotcom engaged in was criminal, and it had real victims.
Hello. Well, I'm relieved to go home to see my family, my 3 little kids and my pregnant wife. And I hope you understand that that's all I want to say right now.
How have you been treated?
I just want to go home and see my family. Thank you.
What about the extradition hearing? You'll obviously be fighting that one.
Yes, I will be fighting that.
Yeah.
And in New Zealand, MegaUpload tycoon Kim Dotcom was released on bail today after 31 days in prison. A hearing will be held shortly to determine whether the MegaUpload co-accused will be sent to Washington to stand trial. If found guilty, the men could face up to 80 years in prison.
We were living in this happy bubble, you know? Everything was perfect. Until the raid.
Yay! It's happening.
Oh, I'm scared. Oh, what's that? Oops.
Hello. Number 1 is out, baby.
Hey, number 2. Baby's super pretty.
Super healthy.
Super good, baby. Don't worry. All good. Today, I'm a daddy again. 2 more kids, little tiny girls. 2 beautiful little pirates. That was really good that I was able to be outside to watch the twins get born. You know, that gave me a lot of energy. It reminded me, you know, that I really need to fight for them. I knew we were innocent. I knew these allegations were wrong. I actually read the indictment on the day we got arrested, and I had to laugh. I said to my co-defendants, this will be over really quick. This is such a nonsense. It will be so easy to discredit and show that they got it all wrong, you know? While I was remanded, I got all these press clippings, and they were saying that I was found with a sawn-off shotgun, you know, that they had to use this kind of force because I had weapons in the house, and, you know, the whole description of the case and who I am was just completely unrealistic and not true. So I decided that I want to set the record straight. Of course, everybody knows that the internet is being used for legitimate and illegitimate uses. And I think every online service provider has the same challenges that we had. YouTube, Google, everybody is in the same boat. And our legal advisors have always told us that we are secure and that we are protected by the DMCA, which is a law in the US that is protecting online service providers of liability for the actions of their users.
Kim's legal team would argue that they're no different than any other cloud storage service. They're not responsible for what the users do. They have no liability. End of story, as far as they're concerned. What the government alleges, what the entertainment industry alleges, is that, well, no, the website was set up to give incentives for people to upload, valuable material, meaning, newly released films, newly released music, things like that.
That's also very important to mention. I shouldn't ever have been in a situation to defend myself against extradition because there's simply no basis in law in New Zealand to extradite me.
They have to prove to a New Zealand court that the treaty between the United States and New Zealand, extradition treaty, covers copyright. And from what I've seen, there's nothing in there about copyright.
They're concocted. And they're piling them on to figure out a way to make out a case where none should exist. But like a house, like dominoes, if there is no criminal copyright infringement, all the others will fall.
The whole .com MegaUpload process turned out to be far more than New Zealand ever bargained for. Anything that we could get wrong, we got wrong. The New Zealand authorities managed to pretty much screw up every step of the process along the way. The search warrant that was used to execute the raid, it has to be directed towards whatever the alleged criminal enterprise is. This document didn't do that. It was an incredibly vague document. The authorities in New Zealand cloned .com's laptops, which had been seized during the raid. The court had effectively said, this evidence remains in New Zealand. The FBI took the clones and sent them back to the United States. It's extraordinary. .com's rights, the process of law, had been thwarted, and there needed to be some sort of redress for that.
The internet millionaire has been back in court for a 3-day hearing. Police were quizzed about what level of threat he posed and whether the elite special tactics group was needed to execute the search warrants in January.
The police are not every day going into domestic houses armed to the teeth with automatic weapons, bashing down doors, quartering the household in a paramilitary fashion, shouting orders at one another. That's not ordinary police practice in New Zealand, is it, or have I missed something?
I think you've missed something. If the risk assessment is that there are firearms in the property, the police will not execute that search warrant without armed police.
When one reads the indictment of MegaUpload, I noticed that there were references to child pornography and terrorism. They do not have any relevance to a claim of copyright infringement, but that is part of the effort to paint the defendants as extremely dangerous and ugly and nasty persons.
And that, Your Honour, is the one that I referred to.
And they had a message. The guy's dangerous, he has weapons. And so everybody thought, this Kim Dotcom guy is not just into piracy. They gave the impression that he was much more dangerous and there were other things that he might be into. And of course, it turned out to be a lie.
One was taken at a resort called Cape Kidnappers in Napier. And I was there with my family for a holiday. And we had an afternoon where we did clay shooting. And the other event was a similar occasion in Ireland over 10 years ago.
I was almost 7 months pregnant. I was having contractions, but that was not my focus. I just thought to myself, oh my God, the kids, because I could see the guys with their weapons, with their guns. How silly is that? So I was just like, can you please let me go to my kids? They're like, no, you just have to stand there. You have to stand there. I'm like, I need to go to my kids. I need to see my kids. Those are my kids in there. It's because I was just worried that, you know, they're gonna come in their room with their guns.
So you were relying upon the intelligence information which the FBI were providing to you. Is that right?
Yes. The FBI and the Department of Justice were involved from the very outset, and that's perhaps not surprising. What's surprising is how keen the New Zealand authorities were just to adopt what we assume to be the recommendations from the FBI.
When they went in fast and hard, it was because the police were under the impression that there was this doomsday device that was in the mansion somewhere that would, if activated, destroy evidence of wrongdoing anywhere in the world.
What destruction devices?
Oh, the laptop and the iPhone or the PDA, whatever it was that was found.
They were not destruction devices, were they?
What do you expect, a box with the red button on it?
The mission was to arrest me as quickly as possible, right? So that I could not use any doomsday device. In actuality, it took them 15 minutes to find me in my own house. There's never been any such device and it was never found. That's all bullshit.
I think that the rationale is clear. It was meant to send a message around the world. Don't mess with the United States on copyright issues. The only other raid that I can think of that sounds similar is the raid on Osama bin Laden. And these are vastly different levels of importance.
You know, it sort of looked like you were taking down a South American dictator. I thought it was bizarre, and I thought it was also, you know, quite symptomatic of how we've gotten into such an extreme position around some of these issues, things that I might not even agree with that MegaUpload was doing. I think warrant proper address in court and so forth. It doesn't mean you need to send helicopters and masses of teams with machine guns and so on.
That's it. You just make history, man.
It's fucking huge, man! Woo!
Later. Okay, bye. Oh man, this is good shit. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up.
First tonight, a ruling in the past hour on the Kim Dotcom case as he fights FBI attempts to extradite him to the United States.
A High Court judge says search warrants for the internet entrepreneur's Auckland mansion were illegal.
Justice Helen Wynne-Kelman has decided the warrants used were invalid. New Zealand police seized bank accounts on behalf of the FBI and took away property worth millions. Now they may have to give it all back.
It's a damning judgment. Illegal, unlawful, invalid. Justice Wynne-Kelman doesn't hold back.
Embarrassed about this? I am a wee bit.
Oh, absolutely.
That we appear to almost be puppets of the FBI.
There was a feeling that The machinery of state had been exercised against Dotcom in a way that was unjust or unfair.
Suddenly, New Zealanders saw that there was two sides to the story. And maybe this was the US state bullying someone that was a spanner in the works of Hollywood productions. Suddenly, people wanted to fight against injustice. Suddenly, he became a cause celeb.
The war for the internet has begun. Hollywood is in control of politics.
There's huge contradictions in Kim Dotcom. Even in the face of these huge legal battles he faces, he seems to have a huge sense of humor and likes to taunt the US government.
What about free speech, Mr. President? Say hello to my little friend!
I think that playful attitude is one reason that a lot of people who might otherwise be really skeptical of what he's done, knowing that, the primary driving force behind many of these companies is to make money, nevertheless kind of can appreciate him.
We will make history. It starts with you.
It's quite interesting that a lobby group around entertainment content can get the White House to move against an internet nerd with military force. I mean, think about that for a moment. Isn't that, it's funny. And none of it will change anything. None of what they've done has changed anything to alter the way the internet works or the levels of piracy.
When MegaUpload shut down, in the 18 weeks following that shutdown, sales through legitimate outlets went up 6 to 10%. And that's just one site. It was one of the major sites at the time. But that's just one site. And you saw an uptick of use of legitimate sites by an amount of 6 to 10%. So that's a really significant amount of impact on the legitimate market.
You can't really trust the industry numbers on that problem. And you certainly can't trust the industry's analysis and understanding of the operation of the internet. I mean, one of the strongest drivers for piracy is when people are hearing all this buzz about something that really is fantastic, but they can't get it legally in their country, and then they turn illegally to download it. Well, we may disapprove of that behavior, but we can't stop that behavior. And there's actually a very simple solution that doesn't involve sending out SWAT teams. It involves, hey, change your business policy. Everything that you are selling in one country, sell it in every country. And if you don't be surprised if people are pirating it.
I'm an avid gamer. I play Modern Warfare on Xbox. And I noticed that my internet speed went down by about 20, 30 milliseconds. and a normal internet user would never, ever identify that. But me being a competitive gamer, I noticed it. And only after the raid did I figure out what happened. They rerouted all my traffic in a way that they could capture all my data that went through my connection.
During the High Court hearings, Grant Wormold was being cross-examined, and he was being asked about his notebook. And he looked extremely awkward.
On the 14th of December 2011, was there a further meeting that you attended to plan this operation, where there was a range of people there, someone from the Justice Department, was it?
Yes.
And was there another group of people represented as well at that meeting?
Yes, there was.
What field of activity were they involved with?
They worked for the government.
Right. Are you not able to tell us who they were?
I'd rather not.
Reason?
Just because of the nature of the organisation.
It was clear that something had gone horribly, horribly awry. The intelligence agencies had somehow become involved in the MegaUpload case. The GCSB, the Government Communications Security Bureau, New Zealand's equivalent to the National Security Agency, was spying on .com. It's also a part of what's called the Five Eyes arrangement. The Five Eyes, between them, spy on the world. The power that they have is immense.
Once Kim Dotcom was in New Zealand, the U.S. began exploiting the relationship that they had with the GCSB and the New Zealand government to ensure that getting Kim Dotcom became one of their principal priorities, to the point where they engaged in illegal surveillance to do so.
The GCSB is controlled by quite specific legislation that says you're not allowed to spy on New Zealand residents or citizens.
This is something I really like to point out that is important for me when they tapped into my iPhone. Because if that happens to you, it alters the way you think completely. You realize that it wasn't just my emails that they read. They were there when I was private with my wife. They were right there. They have no business doing that to anybody at all.
I find that more than a little bit disturbing. Is that a way the government is supposed to act with communications monitoring? Are you supposed to be turning the antennas that are meant to protect your country from outside threats back on yourself for the prosecution of what I'm not even sure in New Zealand is necessarily a criminal act?
Tonight, the Kim Dotcom affair is leaving John Key's government increasingly red-faced.
The boss of the Intelligence Bureau, Prime Minister John Key, has ordered a probe into illegal bugging of the internet millionaire.
Of course, I apologise to Mr Dotcom. I apologise to New Zealanders, because every New Zealander that sits within the category of holding a permanent residency or a New Zealand citizen is entitled to be protected from the law. This is really a matter of mistake and human error, not one of a great conspiracy.
I wish you a mega Christmas. I wish you a mega Christmas. I wish you a mega Christmas from Santa.com, shutting down the internet.
Truth, integrity, knowledge, independence.
There's a crime scene and an illegal gathering. You are all being detained. Nobody move.
MegaUpload accused did a remarkable thing in the year after they were arrested. They built a business called Mega.
It is the launch of Mega.
You all have raided
Dotcom says that he was motivated by a desire to create an encrypted cloud storage site so that nobody could be spied on in the way that he had been spied on.
The US government is investing billions into massive spy clouds to capture all your data and communication. By using Mega, you say no to governments that want to spy on you.
Lord knows what's on there. It could be copyrighted files, it could be ISIS planning documents, it could be child porn, it could be whatever it might be. They've built it so that nobody can see inside.
That, by the way, is also what's going to beat the surveillance state. I will be one person that will be remembered as somebody who has fought mass surveillance with technology that gives you your freedom back.
The innermost workings of our top spy agency have been exposed in a damning report.
Police have found the GCSB broke the law by spying on Kim Dotcom and 85 other New Zealanders.
Prime Minister Key's solution to the debacle is to change the law, giving more power to our top intelligence agency. If passed, the law will permit the GCSB to now spy on all New Zealand citizens.
Thank you all for coming today. The US government is the most power-hungry government out there. And GCSB is one of the puppets on the strings of the US government. And the biggest puppet of them all is John Key, your Prime Minister. And I will never settle my case. I will fight until we know the truth, until we know every single detail.
There were fireworks today at Parliament as the Prime Minister John Key went head-to-head with Kim Dotcom. The internet tycoon was making a public submission on the proposed changes to the country's spy laws.
Do you feel that or do you know or believe that the Prime Minister was aware of what you were doing before the raid took place?
He knew about me before the raid. I know about that.
I didn't know.
You know, I know.
I know you don't know. I know you don't know, actually, but that's fine.
Why are you turning red, Prime Minister?
I'm not. Why are you sweating?
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, okay.
I have a scarf. But the question was if the Prime Minister knew about me before the raid, and the answer to that is yes. They gave me residency in New Zealand for the purpose of extradition. Warner Brothers was already in talks with the New Zealand government to shoot the Hobbit films here. And we're talking about, you know, triple-digit $1 million budgets, lots of opportunity for New Zealand. So the Prime Minister has seen this as a double strike opportunity. Number one, we can make these Hollywood studios happy so they will shoot more movies here. And on top of that, we can please the White House because on the highest levels, they wanted me shut down.
Certainly there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that conspiracy theory is true. He was allowed to stay in the country despite having a criminal past, which would normally preclude him from getting residency. This occurred at the same time that the New Zealand Prime Minister John Key was meeting with Hollywood officials.
Can I go through the list of people we believe knew about
sure.
Kim Dotcom? Simon Power and some officials. Jonathan Coleman and some officials. The Solicitor General's Office, Crown Law, New Zealand Police, the Attorney General, the Organised and Financial Crime Agency of New Zealand, Nigel Bickle and an unknown number of people under him at Immigration New Zealand, your electorate office, Hillary Clinton, the US Department of Justice, the FBI, the US Attorney General's Office, senior members of the US Police Force, but not you.
Correct. I mean, look, I hate to tell you the bad news. There's no great conspiracy. The facts are I found that Dotcom is someone the United States thinks they've broken the law. He's somebody that they're trying to extradite to the United States. That's where it starts and finishes.
Kim Dotcom has failed in a last-ditch attempt to have the 2012 raid on his Coatesville mansion ruled invalid. The Supreme Court's found the search warrants were legal.
Police won't be charging anyone at the GCSB in relation to a complaint about spying on Kim Dotcom.
Every time we win, they appeal. It's a default. We win, they appeal. And, you know, every time they appeal, they win. It's all very political.
Hello, good morning. Thank you all for coming. Today is a big day. We're launching the internet party.
I couldn't believe it. I said to Dotcom, are you really going to do it then? Are you going to go into politics? And he said, yeah. And I thought, God, you've lost it. That's completely mad.
I couldn't care less about politics. Are you kidding me? Like, why would I get involved, you know? And then I found out all these things firsthand, being abused, being subject to the abuse of power. Yeah, of course, I wanted to replace the government. Why else would I do it? You know?
For Matthias Ortmann, Bram van der Kolk, Fim Batato, I think that Dotcom's involvement in politics was a sideshow and a distraction. They struggled to see how it was going to stop an extradition process that was underway, how it was going to change the charges that they might face in the United States.
Of this Five Eyes global spy network.
Thank you, guys.
Kim is always the super confident, and I'm always the one worrying, like, but still, I'm a woman. I would worry, of course. That's my thing. I'm a worry ward. You're still kind of like left hanging, like, I don't even know what's gonna happen 6 months from now. Like, Kim's hearing's still going on. I just don't know. I think the whole stress really got to me, and, you know, the raid, of course, was part of it. We were really happy before, you know. Yeah.
Mona had great difficulty dealing with the raid. She struggled with it, and it affected our relationship. That's probably the most regrettable outcome of this whole case against me, that our relationship fell apart. She was the love of my life.
It became apparent as the election year of 2014 was rolling on that the Internet Party was not going to succeed. So Dotcom started to look around for alliances. The party that was willing to work with him was the Mana Party, which had a more left-wing and activist base.
Kim Dotcom's told One News he's now forked out a whopping $4 million for the deal with the Mana Party.
Kim Dotcom has a particular legal interest in not being sent back to justice elsewhere.
Everybody knows that Kim Dotcom is putting money behind the political party to try and stop himself being extradited.
It was important for the Mana Party to be able to introduce its new political partner to its constituency. Town by town, marae by marae, they would go down the country.
Everyone was quite surprised at how successful they were. People took them seriously and wondered whether they would play an important part in a new government. And the media reported everything they did. I'm not sure that Internet Mana handled that scrutiny very well.
You work in news, you puffed up little You're a thief! You're a thief, John Key!
The Internet Mana Roadshow had aspects that appeared to be targeting John Key personally.
Attacks on John Key have hit new heights this campaign. This effigy burning the latest online outrage.
It was probably the nastiest election that New Zealand has seen, if not for many, many decades, then forever.
Kim Dotcom has promised to drop a number of bombshells that could topple the Prime Minister John Key at an upcoming event billed The Moment of Truth.
The day that the Moment of Truth was to be held, I'd received an email which purported to show that everything Dotcom had said about the conspiracy was true, that New Zealand served them up on a plate. So I rang Dotcom and I said, is this what you're going to be pulling out at the Moment of Truth tonight? And he said, yes, it is.
So what kind of impact could there be from all this tonight?
Well, it is. These are extraordinary revelations to be laid out 5 days before a campaign. John Key is fighting really for his political life. Remember, he has said he would resign if there was any evidence to show mass surveillance. And of course, we also have this email on the Hollywood links.
Round it up before he goes. Come on, give him a kiss, ladies.
The Moment of Truth for John Key would have been a high-risk scenario because the two things that Dotcom had promised to produce were things that he said he was going to resign if they turned out to be the case.
Tonight we welcome the world and to extend the welcome of Aotearoa to Glenn Greenwald. Welcome Edward Snowden.
US has this war for control of the internet, and it is a war. They don't feel that there should be an organisation like WikiLeaks. They believe that the spying that they do should be kept secret. They believe that when it comes to copyright, the approach that they have should radiate out across the world. What we saw there in that town hall, that was the resistance.
You've got this network of sensors around the world, so I can see everything. I can see what book you looked at Amazon.com. I can see who you talked to. I can see who your friends on Facebook are. I can see the text messages you sent. I can read the emails you wrote. And I can set up things.
Exactly the kind of mass surveillance that Prime Minister Key not only vehemently denied was being done, but which he promised he would resign if it were determined his government were actually engaging in.
Covert intelligence agencies, by definition, are designed to operate outside the law, and so they cannot be trusted.
No matter what Assange or Snowden were going to say, Dotcom was still the emperor with new clothes. He hadn't produced the thing that he had pledged that he would, that he'd been talking about for ever so long. And that was a real problem for Dotcom and for pretty much anybody that had backed him up until that point.
What people have been waiting for tonight is when Kim Dotcom came to the Parliament and said that he would prove that John Key was a liar tonight.
Which I did, absolutely.
No, about knowing about you before the raid.
Let me just reply to this, okay? I think, and I want to address all media here tonight, you have an obligation, after what you have learned tonight, to take the information that you were told here by Glenn Greenwald and Edward Snowden to the Prime Minister and this government and hold them accountable. We have focused on the much bigger lie, which is not about my case, which is about every single New Zealander who is subjected to mass surveillance. That is a story that you should focus on. Get your priorities right.
We will.
I hope you will. I hope you will, because in the past, Patrick, you have let New Zealanders down. I don't understand how you let the Prime Minister get away time and time again with his lies and his spin. You need to do your job, and everyone here needs to do their job.
I'm doing my job by asking you, Kim Dotcom, what's gone wrong, Kim Dotcom? What's gone wrong? Why couldn't you trust the evidence tonight? What's gone wrong?
I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Wrapping it up. That email, I know it comes from hacker circles. You know about the famous Sony hack? The same people who were responsible for that were responsible for this hack. I was assured that that email would contain headers, which is what allows you to identify all the details. You know, what mail server was used, the date stamps that would have allowed anyone to verify the contents. But unfortunately, the email was not leaked with that information, so it became useless for me. Yeah, and I regret that I could not use it in the event.
Kia ora, everyone. Welcome to Decision 14. The campaign is over, the voting is over, and the counting has begun. Now, politics is a very serious business. This has been a fairly serious and at times thoroughly unpleasant campaign.
Supporters who are gathering here now will be hoping that they've got something to celebrate tonight.
Right at the start, there was quite a swelling of support for Dotcom because they saw him as someone that had been the victim of the big Goliaths of the US FBI, the New Zealand police. But suddenly he was seen as a more aggressive player, and it was John Key that was the underdog.
The internet mana party is in trouble.
Oh my goodness, in the last 20 minutes, it's all completely changed up here.
This is phenomenal. What we are seeing here is the Internet Mana Alliance is not in Parliament, and Kim Dotcom's millions and millions of dollars goes down the drain.
Good evening, everybody. We lost tonight because of me. I have to say this, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, I have to say this. I take full responsibility for this loss tonight because the brand Kim Dotcom was poison for what we were trying to achieve. And I did not see that before, and it only became apparent to me in the last couple of weeks. So to all of you who have worked so hard, I say thank you very much.
3 more years.
The day after the election, the Solicitor General of New Zealand has approached my lawyers and asking if I was willing to leave New Zealand, the case would be resolved. There wouldn't have to be an extradition, and this whole thing could go away. You don't do a raid like this and destroy a man's family and his business and cause so much pain and get away with it with some piece of paper that says, yeah, I've done something wrong, but now I'm free, thank you very much. Well, fuck them.
After 4.5 years of delays, the extradition hearing against Kim Dotcom and the MegaUpload co-accused starts in Auckland, New Zealand today. The judge will determine whether the 4 men will be free to remain in New Zealand or whether they will be sent to the U.S., where they could face decades in prison.
This is cited as the largest copyright case that our world has ever seen.
Still think we should win, and we're hopeful that we will. We are.
Are you worried about what the decision might be?
Please don't fall, okay? Be careful.
I'm very confident in my legal team. You know, our submissions are excellent. Any unbiased legal mind is going to see what has happened here.
The case is really important because it raises important legal issues relating to the extradition process. But first, they've got to show that the conduct they complain of is in fact a crime. We say, look, what you allege on the facts is not a crime.
Then Your Honour will see that there is a specific piece of legislation called the Copyright Act, and it provides a protection for internet service providers. Simply providing that technology to its users does not expose a company to civil or criminal liability.
They seem very confident. They always point to the same things. There's nothing in New Zealand-US treaty that covers copyright, and they think that they're going to win.
Okay, Ms. Gordon.
The dishonesty at the core of MegaUpload's operations may be expressed in straightforward terms. The evidence boils down to a simple scheme of fraud. Not a passive, dumb pipe service provider, but a massive hard drive of infringing material.
Christine Gordon represents the United States of America. She has to be, I'm sure, tutored by the DOJ. And the United States has gotten every ounce of effort out of her.
we have some good glimpses of how the respondents thought and acted behind the scenes. We have some highly revealing communications between them. As Mr. Ortman privately put it, copyright owners would find, and these are his words that now follow, "We are not the dumb pipe we claim to be." Bram van der Kolk marvelled at the position they had attained, and these are his words. If copyright holders would really know how big our business is, they would surely try to do something against it. They have no idea that we're making millions in profit each month. Ortman told van der Kolk, and these are Mr. Ortman's words, "We did some things right. We allowed fraud for a long time, fueling our growth.
I was startled. I mean, the whole court shuts up. Everybody stops because they're startling.
On or about August 16, 2010, via Skype, Dotcom told Ortman in German, in Mr. Dotcom's words, "At some point, a judge will be convinced about how evil we are, and then we're in trouble." Objectively translated, it should read, "Because at some stage a judge will be talked into how bad we allegedly are, and then it will be a mess."
The United States had the ability to select what evidence it wanted to present, and we say it cherry-picked it. It was very selective and biased about the evidence it picked and placed before our court. And a lot of the conversations were also in a foreign language. They were in German. And as a result, the United States relied on translations, which we were able to show were incorrect and, in fact, misleading.
Your Honour should also have received this morning a bundle that looks like this. Part of Section 101B is set out in the submissions at page 65.
It's a 21 October red bundle, sir.
And you need to understand that this judge was spammed with thousands of pages of submissions by the US government. They basically drowned him in material, and I knew he didn't understand anything about the case. He had no clue about the internet, about copyright. At one point in one hearing, he asked if Mega was cow storage, not cloud storage, cow storage.
It was a pretty frustrating hearing. We had prepared over many hours, and we had committed significant human and financial resources into mounting what we thought was a very credible defence to extradition, and most of our arguments were marginalised or not even considered by the court.
The overwhelming preponderance of evidence produced by the applicant in the record of case and its supplements establishes a prima facie case to answer for all respondents on each of the counts. The decision has found that all four respondents are eligible for extradition. Therefore, pursuant to Section 26, subsection 1C, you must be informed under or be that you will not be sued without police arrest.
Time has passed by, MegaUpload. There's always going to be people who want to pirate, and there's always going to be these services. But are they going to be mainstream? I would argue no. Piracy is in decline. What they told us all along, the tech side said, hey, if you make it easy to get our hands on at a cheap price, it's easily accessible, there's not going to be any piracy, and that's what they did. They've gotten the message. What good is it to throw him in jail now? Find out what the guy knows, make a partnership with him. You've got his money, and I'd say the smart move is, right, like The Godfather, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. They should be doing that.
While we have perfectly good reason to want to prevent piracy of content and allow artists and the companies that support them to make a profit off of what they do, the mechanisms that we're using to try and enforce these things are also mechanisms for censorship and for oppression of freedom of thought. And it's a slippery slope. That's a dangerous thing.
It's not about what's right anymore. It's about winning at all costs. They want to drag me down to win. That's all that matters to them. But they picked the wrong guy because he can't drag me down, and I will win.
I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. Treat me like the worst thing you ever seen. Treat me like the worst thing you ever seen. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so cruel. But you don't have to be so cruel. Treat me like a low-down, stupid fool. Treat me like a low-down, stupid fool. Wasn't I your love, your sweetest song? And now it's over. Good Lord, don't run. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. But you don't have to be so mean. Treat me like the worst thing you ever seen. Treat me like the worst thing you ever seen. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so bad. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so bad. Treat me like the worst thing you ever had. Thing you ever had. I'm so alone, like I might die. It's just so sad, I cry and cry. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. Treat me like the worst thing you've ever seen. Treat me like the worst thing you've ever seen. Sweetness, my lover man. worst thing you've ever seen. Treat me like the worst thing you've ever seen. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean. I know you don't love me, but you don't have to be so mean.